Hi, it's Adrian here, and today's discussion in our search for a little freedom and poise through the Alexander technique is going to be habits. Just to remind you, I am a certified Alexander technique teacher, and I teach online and in person here in London. And with regard to habits, I guess mostly people discuss them in terms of them being a negative, and I guess in a way I am too. But I want to be clear about something. Habits themselves aren't bad. They're in fact incredibly useful. We simply don't have enough bandwidth in our mind to be consciously aware of everything all the time. So habits basically are very useful. They allow us to be more efficient. So we have to bear that in mind, that we are, in many ways, we're trying to build up new, more helpful habits rather than actually not have habits. But there's a difference between a useful habit and an unuseful habit. So a useful habit you can choose not to do. An unuseful habit, you have no choice, you're a slave to it. And that's the difference. And I think generally we're going to be discussing the unuseful habits for now. So the thing to bear in mind about habits is they're home. They're home for us, they're the familiar. And anything that feels familiar feels right to us. And if something feels right, we're going to want to keep doing it. The power of habits, they're very insidious, and I think everyone recognises this. I'm not telling you anything that hasn't crossed your mind before. But if I was to say to fold my arms, and that just feels like home to me, I mean, it's wholly unremarkable. But if I was to fold them the other way, and I'm now going to have to think about it, there we go, and I even practiced that before rolling the video, and I still had to think about it, that now feels a little slightly odd to me. But to you, all right, I guess my lower part of my hands, arms are out of frame, but it'd be wholly unremarkable. It's completely, there's nothing about it that holds any value to you either way, whichever way I fold them. But internally, that's not how we process it. Now, bear that in mind, that if you do something new, it may feel wrong to you, but no one else is really going to pay the finest bit of attention. It will be fine. It's okay to be wrong. And it's really important to be okay to be wrong, because ultimately we want to be free, not right. And if you're not prepared to be wrong, you're never going to be free. That's just one of those truisms in life. So welcome the possibility of going wrong every now and then. In fact, Alexander himself said 19 right and 1 wrong was a good batting average when he was trying to get someone in and out of a chair smoothly. That classic movement we do within the Alexander technique. It's a contrivance, sitting and standing. We're not specifically teaching people to sit and stand. Very useful, given lifestyles. But we're actually trying to look at something underneath that behaviour, patterns of behaviour within it, and balance coordination. And for me, that 1 wrong out of his 20, 19 right and 1 wrong, it's more important than the 19 right, because the 1 wrong allowed the 19 right to be 19 free, and the freedom's more interesting to me than the correctness. And it was also to Alexander as well. He actually said, you'll never know when you're right anyway. In fact, and he also said you'll only know when you're wrong. And there's no value being in right anyway, because anything we do is unrepeatable. It's that old cliche, you can't step in the same river twice. You'll be slightly this way, slightly that, the structure will be millimeters this way or that. Your thinking, your emotions, everything will be different every time you do it. So nothing is reproducible. So there's no point in trying to get it right. None at all. Anyway, I feel I'm kind of getting off track here, but habits are useful. Now, the thing about habits when they become unuseful is we end up with an Alexander principle called faulty sensory appreciation. And that basically means you may not be doing what you think you're doing. So if I was to ask a room full of people, as I have done some workshops, to not look at their feet, but everyone to point their feet forward, and then we look and check what everyone's done, nearly everyone's feet are still angled outwards, because their sense of proprioception is out. Now, proprioception is our ability to know where we are in space in relation to ourselves. Put more simply, it's the ability for me to touch my nose with my eyes closed. And one of the things that happens when we habituate something in an unhelpful way is our proprioception goes a little out of whack and we're not quite doing what we think we're doing. So when someone's obviously their poise or posture is off, they won't notice it. It feels normal to them. And you could say, ask them, are you standing up straight? And they'll go, well, yeah. Well, they might not know and then go and try to prop themselves up, posture themselves in some way to check. But there was nothing happening that said to themselves, oh no, I'm slouching. It's complete, their habit of slouching is wholly unremarkable to them. And what we want is a new posture to be also wholly unremarkable, but in that feeling sense of, why would I care if I have good or bad posture? It's not something I want in my consciousness to go around thinking, oh, well, I have good posture. That would be unhelpful, I think, to have to go around and think like that. So we want to build up a new postural habit that runs away in the background without having to think about it. But in a way that, the way we get there is by recognizing that maybe there's some faulty sensory appreciation going on, so that our current level of habits are giving us false feedback of where we are in space in relation to ourselves. So we might be slightly slouched or slumped or whatever, slightly this way or slightly that way, and it will feel completely normal. And the moment that's adjusted into something a little more neutral and a little easier, it'll feel wrong. It will. And we have to welcome that. If you want to change, if you want to improve, you've got to welcome feeling wrong for a bit. And that's psychologically quite difficult and tricky, but it will adjust. The new will suddenly become the old. And there's a little adjusting, and we want to be gentle about it. We don't want to be beating ourselves up about it. Trying to get a correct posture. That's just not my way of thinking at all. We're not looking for correct posture, we're looking for free posture, we're looking for the freedom within it and within your behaviour and your poise and your movement. So, was there anything else I wanted to say about that? Not really, I think that kind of covers it. So just be on the guard that you may not be doing what you think you're doing. And that's why we have Alexander teachers in part. We can be your guide, we can be your mirror. So we can observe you externally to see if you are doing what you're thinking you're doing. And if not, can we guide you out of it? And it's why Alexander himself, when he was first started trying to figure all this stuff out for himself, he had 3 mirrors which he could look in to observe himself. It was in the sort of late 18th century where I guess dress mirrors were quite popular in households, and he lived in a large family, so he could probably just grab a few from different rooms, set them up, and he could watch himself. And he said it was quite hard to actually observe himself neutrally. So if you do catch yourself, looking in a mirror, or sometimes I used to find myself as I walk past shop windows just looking at them, how's my posture looking today? If you do notice something that could be improved, the thing is, can you do it in a way that in itself isn't causing another reaction? Because ultimately that's what we're trying to train out, reactions and then habituation to that reaction. So if you do see yourself in a mirror, don't just go, oh God, I've got to sort my posture out. First call, just observe, just neutrally observe. And don't try and change it. Just neutrally observe to begin with. And when I say to begin with, that may just be for seconds. Could be for minutes, could be for days. It's up to you. It's just getting used to knowing what you're looking at. And if you can then neutrally observe and then come to coming out of a habit, that's much more kinder to yourself, and it's much better to your nervous system to not be reactive to it. Because you don't want the idea of coming to a new poise through a reaction, because actually that's an oxymoron. You won't have poise if you've reacted. It has to be a choice to move into a new space, a new, I was going to say alignment, I don't particularly like the words, it sounds a bit fixed and rigid, but a new way and coordination. So, I think that covers everything I can think of for now as just a quick chat. If you have any questions, do get in touch. Like I say, I do work online as well, offer online lessons. And I'll see you next time. All right, bye.